To see so many of you here tonight. We really appreciate you taking the time to come out and enjoy this forum with us. Some of you who aren't from Sun Prairie may not know that our most famous local resident was Georgia O'Keeffe, who once said, well, let me make sure I get it right. To be an American, one can't just go around saying that one is American. It's necessary to first love America, live America, and then work. And at SPARC, this is how we define that work. It means getting together and working together to move our community forward. The community we live in, the community we love, and the community that we're all mutually invested in. And so for us, that means holding our elected officials accountable, getting to know them, making sure they know us and our concerns, and really taking seriously what representative government means. So thank you all so much for being part of this conversation and for joining us today. Thanks for all the SPARC members out there. You should be able to identify them by their buttons. Could you all just give a wave so people can see who you are? Great, thanks for coming. And thanks too to our elected officials who are here tonight. I see a couple of you down here in the front. If you could just stand up and say hello to everyone here so people don't know who you are.
Alder, District 4.
Bill Clausius, County Board.
Nick Sweetbull, Dane County Supervisor.
All right, and then I'd also, thanks for coming. And I'd also like to introduce one of our favorite hometown heroes, our very own representative, Gary Hebl, who's a Sun Prairie native. Gary has earned the respect of SPARC members by always listening to all of his constituents, those with whom he agrees and those with whom he does not agree. He always takes the time, he always responds, and he always really listens in earnest. And so that's the way to earn the respect of this group, and we hope that everyone here will participate in this conversation. Thank you, Gary, for coming and for introducing John. Welcome.
Thank you all very much, and thank you, Heather. I am so proud to represent the district that includes Sun Prairie, and I'm so proud that we have a group such as SPARC that's nonpartisan, that looks for the issues and looks to try to find solutions. It is my distinct honor tonight to introduce Wisconsin's own John Nichols. John Nichols is a person who fights for not one side or the other, not left or right, but what's for right and what is for good for the entire United States, for the state of Wisconsin. Very interested in protecting our Constitution, the rights of the individual. John has written in numerous books. He's the associate editor of the Capital Times in Madison. He's also the Washington correspondent for The Nation. And if you haven't had a chance to read any of John's books or articles, you are truly in for a treat. But we are here tonight to find out more about our judicial candidates. And John has written extensively on our judicial system, on the Constitution, and I could not think of a better person for us here in Sun Prairie to have to moderate this discussion of issues between our Supreme Court candidates and our Circuit Court judge candidates than John Nichols. And without further ado, let's give John Nichols a great warm welcome.
Thank you, Assemblyman. And thank you to SPARC for putting this together. This is such an impressive event already because of the crowd. You know, there are people who say that folks don't follow judicial politics, that they don't look at races for these offices. You've disproven that here, and that's a very important thing. So I thank SPARC. I also thank the fabulous Sun Prairie Library. This could well be the most beautiful library in the county. So I grew up around the courts. I was born down in rural southeastern Wisconsin, and my dad was the court commissioner and the prosecuting attorney in Racine County. And so my daycare center was the courtrooms of the Racine County Courthouse. I literally, as a baby who crawled, would crawl into courtrooms, and Judge Algrim and Judge Francis Went and others would let me like play under their desks and stuff as they weighed cases. So I literally grew up in and around the Wisconsin judiciary. And I was always impressed. Judge Wendt from Racine, famously, he was the mayor of Racine before it, and he signed the petition to recall Joe McCarthy from the U.S. Senate. And I'm not to be very blunt with you. I've heard people who've suggested that there was something wrong with judges signing recall petitions against Scott Walker. I will tell you that what Judge Wendt told me when I was a little boy is that the first duty of a judge is to be a citizen. And if you shut yourself off from your citizenship, then you shouldn't be sitting on a judicial bench. Now, he also said, just as importantly, that your citizenship does not cancel your duty as a judge to be fair. Your duty to hear both sides of a case. And if there's one thing that the great Wisconsin tradition of an elected judiciary tells us, it is that by taking the power to appoint judges out of the back rooms, by taking it away from governors and from their political circles, from legal powers, and giving it to the people, we create a tenuous balance. Because we expect people to compete, judicial candidates, to compete for our votes, and yet, once they get elected, to not be politicians. It's a very hard balance. And yet it is one that the founders of this state thought was more vital than any other form of election. It's a critical thing to understand. 100 years ago, Robert La Follette wrote more extensively on the election of judges than on the election of any other office. The reason for that? Because he believed judges should be elected. La Follette believed that federal judges should be elected, that it was totally inappropriate for them to be appointed by presidents. Hello, you are totally, no, don't, I was here late too, so we're all good. But La Follette believed the election of judges was the absolute central component of a democracy. And the reason he believed that was because he said that no one who has the power to make decisions about our lives, no one who has that power should be unaccountable to the people. And so what we're doing tonight is absolutely in the deepest, best tradition of the state of Wisconsin. Having a public forum where people can question candidates, where the candidates must respond to us, where we get to make choices about who we would want to elect to our judiciary. That's what the founders of Wisconsin intended in 1848. That's what the progressive movement was about 100 years ago. And so we should thank all four of our candidates for being here. We should be disappointed. We should be disappointed that Justice Roggensack is not here. Not merely disappointed in her, but also disappointed that we don't have that full range of discussion. But we should be very, very proud and very, very impressed, and give a huge round of applause to our four candidates. We have a sort of brutal format here. And the brutality of the format is that we question the Supreme Court candidates while the Circuit Court candidates must sit and listen. Then the Supreme Court candidates have to listen to the Circuit Court, which I like. The one thing I like about it is it sort of reverses the order of things. Traditionally, these folks would judge a case and then it would go up to the Supreme Court. Nah. SPARC has decided to equalize the plane. I like that. And so we're going to introduce and folks who are coming in, I know this has been the great achievement of Sun Prairie politics. We've got a crowd that actually stand alongside, but we actually have a few seats up front and around, so people filter in, come and join us. Now, we're going to start with the Supreme Court candidates, and we're going to let them do a little bit of introduction of themselves. We have a great timekeeper here, and he's going to, this is going to make our brutal format work. Timekeeper, tell us your name.
I'm Nick Sweeple.
Nick Sweeple, your county board member. And his job is to cut these people off violently if need be. So we're going to start with our two Supreme Court candidates. We're going to do just a quick introduction. And to tell you a little bit about themselves, why they're running. And I want to start with, through no reason or no logic, but we're going to start with Vince, and who has shaken this race up in all sorts of exciting and interesting ways. Ladies and gentlemen, take it away, Vince.